I think the Memphis Grizzlies have been watching our channel because they finally listened to me, Brian. They played Zach Edey. They freed him, and he looked stellar. And then he
Yep.
immediately got hurt. And now I feel like I'm responsible. I feel terrible for this. Zach Edey turned his other ankle. This one, in my opinion, looked worse than the one last week where he turned the original ankle. You only got two ankles. They've both been turned in two summer league appearances. Before that, he played 9 minutes. It was pretty much all in the first quarter. 6 points, 3 rebounds, didn't miss a shot from the field. Like, man, I was sitting here with Twitter fingers ready to gas up Zach Edey again. And unfortunately, he gets hurt. What did you see, both in the performance and then the injury?
Yeah, the dominance that I think college basketball fans or the not he's just tall crowd, the ones who actually understand what they're watching, expected. He's a dominant big man, and Memphis drafted him to use him a certain way, the way that he plays. And you saw what that can be, I think, for just a little bit. You saw a little bit of what that can be and what that can look like. The injury stinks. However, I think it's probably okay. You saw enough of what you needed to see, and now he can rest a little bit. It stinks because you want to see more of him play, obviously, and go through a full summer league. He didn't participate in the Olympics, to participate in summer league. So like that part kind of stinks, but you saw the dominance I think that you wanted to see, and gives me confidence that like yeah, he's ready for this.
Yeah, it looked like they knew he was on the court this game, and I didn't feel like that the first time. There's not much you can take away from one quarter of basketball, but like I really enjoyed watching it. I'm having a blast watching Zach Edey when he plays in summer league,
Mhm.
and it's making me excited to watch him in the NBA season because I think he's going to start for Memphis. I really do, and yeah, it felt like the first game out, it was like he was asserting his will just by being who he is, but none of the teammates knew how to play with him. It was a similar
Yeah.
feeling to watching Caitlin Clark in her early Indiana Fever games. It's like none of these players know how to play with someone who does what she does. And then it took
Right.
2 months and they figured it out, and now she has 19 assists in a game. To me, there's gonna be a level of that with Zach Edey where like just nobody's played with a 7'4" dude that is that good of a post guy. And with all due respect to the NBA bigs Memphis has had have been great. They're not exactly guys you're seeking out getting the ball to if they have a
Right.
mismatch. And Edey needs that. Like if Edey gets a little guy on him, you have to get him the ball. You just have to.
Yeah.
It looked to me like they made a more concerted effort to do that in game two, which I appreciated. It was rewarded because he went 3 for 3 from the floor and didn't miss. And shit, man, he plays 4 quarters in this game. Do the per 40s. Not that you should ever do the per 40s in summer league. 24 and 12 is what he would have done. Like that's a super
Yep.
productive game again. So I'm excited. I think basketball wise, he's great. Congratulations, Memphis. All of that. This injury scares me, and I don't think I'm just playing like hot take injury stuff. Look, it seems like a fluke because it was a fluke play. It just was like how
Mhm.
that happened was a fluke. But obviously, if you are a 7'4" big man who weighs as much as Zach Edey weighs, like you can't get injured. And the number one sell of Zach Edey, the basketball player, has been that he's indestructible. Like
Mhm.
maybe we cursed him by acknowledging that, but like he just never got hurt. He never came off the floor. He played so many minutes at Purdue, and it became a thing where I thought he was superhuman. Like I feel like I'm watching Superman when he plays, and to
Mhm.
see him in only 2 attempts to play summer league basketball have to be removed from both games due to injury. I think they were both flukes, but I look at them and I'm like, well, damn, is this a sign of things to come? Is it something about the NBA game and the pace and the floor that is putting him in more precarious situations than what happened in the Big Ten, where it's plotting and there's no spacing and he can just sort of take his time and go through people? I'm worried this is going to be a more frequent thing, and maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know, but do you think that's a fair concern?
I I don't think it's as serious as you are scared that it is of an issue. Like I think it is something where it is he didn't have any injuries in college. You thought he was not necessarily indestructible, but somebody who injuries were a concern. And now in summer league injuries have been a concern. Now it's summer league. these are rolled ankles. That happens all the time in basketball. Everybody who's played basketball has rolled their ankle at least once or twice. So I'm not like as concerned about him as I would be if it was like his knee, or if he was having like soreness in his knee and things like that, because that would be more indicative to me of something that could potentially be career trajectory altering.
Yeah, like
Ankles, you just kind
lingering,
of,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the ankles you kind of get off of and you're fine,
Yeah.
right? So that part's okay. Now, if we get 2 weeks into the season and he's done it two more times, we can have another conversation then. But I do think what you brought up about guys who aren't used to playing with him, or that kind of big man, that kind of style, because that was one of the knocks on him in the draft process, was in order to use Zach Edey most effectively as a traditional low post big man, you have to play through a traditional low post big man, which teams don't do anymore, and teams haven't done since like 2015, really. So the guys who are going to be playing with aren't used to playing with him and with that, and the guys who are also defending him aren't used to defending that.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there is something to be said for maybe limbs being kind of out of whack and in places where he's not expecting them, where they were in the Big Ten. Um, but I don't think it's like a significant issue that the Grizzlies front office should be worried about.
Okay. You're talking me off the ledge a little bit, and I appreciate that. I can literally feel my blood pressure going down.
I
It's
trust the
okay.
years we saw of him staying healthy versus this couple of weeks of rolled ankles.
Yeah. And it's a really good point that neither of these are something that should linger. It's like you recover
Yeah.
from it and then it's done. That's a good point. When he left the court, I thought this one was bad. I thought this may be worse than a turn at first. And then, he did end up walking off, and it was very clear we're not going to put him back in. So good on him that he was able to walk off. It probably means
Yeah.
it's not as serious as I'm making it seem. But the last point I just want to make on, like, maybe I'm just trying to explain away two complete freak plays, but in college, the whole defensive identity of Zach Edey was designed to protect Zach Edey from himself. And that was a really smart thing that Matt Painter did. And I think, honestly, it went under the radar a lot, and maybe Painter should have been given more credit for it. He basically asked Zach Edey to stay out of the plays defensively as much as he could. And you could pick and choose your spots. Maybe in the final 4 minutes of a close game and you only have one foul, okay, change the way you defend. But more often than not, he was going to play drop coverage. And if a drive came at him, he was going to alter it, but he was going to stay away from contact at all times. And I think that not only protected him from fouls because he was so indispensable on the offensive end, I think it also protected him from injury situations, because the
Yep.
less you're lunging, the less you're flying around, the safer you are. And that's probably why Edey looked indestructible for 2 seasons. Now he's in the
That's
NBA,
right.
and it's very clear the Grizzlies are not taking that approach, at least in summer league. It's like, hey, the chains are off. Block shots. Don't worry about fouls. We don't care if you foul out here. Show us what you can do as a rim protector. And I think in 2 games, or 1.5 games, Edey has shown more as a rim protector than we ever saw at Purdue. But he's also like putting himself in situations he hasn't been, with players who are faster and stronger and more
Yep.
explosive than anything he saw in the Big Ten. So, like, when I watched the clip of this injury, the first thing that came to my mind was like, this never would have happened at Purdue, because he wouldn't be lunging to block a shot like that at Purdue. And here we are. Who knows how that'll be in the regular season?
I think the part of that too is he didn't have to prove himself at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He is a rookie who's drafted in the top 10, which comes with its own set of pressures, let alone you being the two-time National Player of the Year, who people thought was one of the worst picks in the NBA history. The fact that you went top 10, right?
People,
Like,
people or
people,
person?
person thought worse in NBA history. People thought it was a bad selection.
Sure, sure.
Go with that. But so there is, I think, some onus on him, particularly in summer league and games that don't matter, to prove himself, right? Give him a month with the Grizzlies and get comfortable in a role. I don't think you see this as much.
Yeah.
I think you see some of it if the Grizzlies want him to, because you want to have a 7'4" rim protector. He's going to do more defensively than I think he did at Purdue, because I think Memphis is going to value that rim protection in relation to his offense more than Purdue did. Right? Purdue was, we need your offense at all costs, so stay out of foul trouble. Memphis you're playing next to John Morant. We want your offense. We really love your defense,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So there's going to be some of that, but I also think he's going all out to prove himself, as rookies do in summer league and early on in the season. I don't think this is how he is going to necessarily play all of the time. Like, I think he's putting some added pressure on himself to do some things and try, not necessarily try a little bit harder, but put himself in situations he would not otherwise put himself in to prove himself.
Yeah. Show what he can do. He's a competitive
Right.
dude. We know that. You don't become the 2-time National Player of the Year without being an
Right.
elite competitor. So, all right. Well, best wishes to Zach Edey. Zach Edey has told me personally, privately, that he's a listener of this channel. So Zach may see this video, and we're pulling for you, Zach. I feel really awful that you're going through the injury stuff. Hang in there, my friend. The future is bright. The near future is bright once the season starts. And in my opinion, you showed out, my dog. Like, let's look at those per 40s. Like 20,
Yeah.
24 and 12. Zach, really? That's nice.
He get Put your feet up and play some college football on the Xbox. Take Purdue to the promised land. That's what you need to do.
You don't want to play with Hudson Card, man. Let's be honest. Card, you know what I love about you?
That I'm handsome?
You're reliable. I can count on you. Honestly, you remind me of Aaron Henry a little bit. Remember when, like, their back was against the wall, nothing was going right, and man just showed up every day. He didn't make excuses. There were no problems. There were just solutions.
Sounds like me.
That's you. And it also reminds me of Duncan Mechanical Solutions, because if you're looking for quality furnace repair, look no further than the heating and air experts that you can trust. Comfort and quality are their standard. They're an HVAC company that serves Northeast Indiana and Southern Michigan, whether it's heating and air conditioning, plumbing, kitchen and bath remodeling, or emergency services when you need them most. Duncan Mechanical Solutions has reliable service that you can count on. Cart, remember when your basement almost exploded?
I remember when my basement almost exploded. I remember when my furnace itself was acting funny. I remember when my AC was acting funny. I wish I had Duncan in my back pocket. I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been anywhere in northern Indiana or southern Michigan that hasn't been perfectly cool or perfectly warm, depending on when the day called for. And that's because of Duncan Mechanical Solutions. They are the presenting sponsor for the month of July. Shout out to Duncan Mechanical Solutions. Go to duncanmechanicalsolutions.com to learn more.